Good morning. It is Wednesday morning. Sally Crocker, the first name I see this morning, followed by Barbara Richardson. Welcome to you both. Stacy Riggle, good morning to you. Jim and Kathy Fuente, Letitia Sexton, good morning. Mike and Joe Stromberg, welcome. Good morning, everybody. There's my mom. Welcome to you this morning. Lori Agassi, good morning. Steve and Andrea Hauser. Andrea, I hope you're feeling better after your fall and those ribs are healing up. I'm sorry that that's happened. I know how painful bruised ribs can be. It's happened to me more than once. Mike and Kim Johnson, Carmen Lego. Good morning, everybody. Barbara Del Rio, good morning. Helen Lansing, Karen Lowe, good morning. So, just want to acknowledge today, first of all, January 20th, that this is Inauguration Day at 12 noon today. Joe Biden will be sworn in as our next president, and so just want to continue to recognize and remember to pray for our nation, pray for our leadership, and recognize that we have a God who is overseeing all. He loves us so much, and He is guiding the hearts of kings. And so we just pray for a peaceful transition of power, and that God would be glorified. So recognizing that today. I was in Psalm 50 this morning, and I've had, it was prompted not, so I'm going to talk a little bit about one verse in Psalm 50 that is a little out of context for the psalm as far as how I felt it applied to me today. So that's my reflection. So the psalm in Psalm 50 is God's calling Israel to account for their duplicity. And the psalm opens, and the mighty one, God the Lord, speaks and summons the earth from the rising of the sun to its setting. And God, when He is about to judge, often calls creation as His witness. There is, something. There are a few things that are equitable to God's courtroom. He doesn't call men to witness. In general, He calls creation, the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the heavens and the earth. These are common things. And so in this case, he summons the earth from the rising of the sun to its setting. He's about to hold court. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God shines forth. And then he goes into talking about, I'm displeased, basically, with Israel, and it's specifically for their duplicity. And he says, you're offering all kinds of sacrifices, burnt offerings, but I'm not pleased with those. I don't even need them. You're offering as if they're for me. They're not for me. They're for you. And his desire for them is, they're offering these burnt sacrifices. God forgive us, God forgive us. The sacrifices of atonement, the sacrifices for sin. And yet, simultaneously, later in the psalm, he's saying you are looking at thieves and giving approval. You're hanging out with sinners, and your life isn't reflective of a relationship with God. How dare you take the words of the covenant and speak them through these rituals if your life doesn't reflect a relationship with the one true God. So in the midst of all of that, in the center of the psalm is this verse, is what God would rather see. Instead of all these burnt offerings and so on, this is what I would rather see, God says. He says, if I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world and its fullness are mine. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? And again, I don't need these sacrifices from you. These are for you. And he said, instead, offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving, and perform your vows to the Most High, and call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. So offer God a sacrifice of thanksgiving. What is God saying here? And obviously it's in the context of, I want your heart. I want your life. And so what is a offering of, or a sacrifice of thanksgiving? This particular sacrifice is prescribed in Leviticus 7, in which it's one of the, so in Leviticus, these are all the laying out the priestly duties and how priests are to interact with God's people and facilitate various offerings, and he's going into detail about all the offerings that they're going to facilitate. Well, one of those offerings is the offering of thanksgiving, and it's actually an offering under a category of offerings called peace offerings. Peace offerings are offerings that are not demanded by God. They're not required. Offerings for sin, offerings for atonement are a requirement. It's the way that we keep our right standing before God in a way. But once we have right standing before God and we're enjoying that communion, that relationship, then we are often prompted inwardly, this is in the case of Israel, we're prompted inwardly to offer offerings of peace during times of peace, not against war, but when I have peace with God, I have a right standing with God. There's nothing I need to really atone for necessarily. I'm just here because I'm so grateful. So that's the offering of thanksgiving under this category of peace offerings. When we're enjoying communion with God, we have our heart is right, our life is aligned. Again, this is a relative standard. None of us are perfect in all of our actions, but that's not necessarily what God requires. He requires faith. We're acting in faith. We're acting in accord with the right relationship that we enjoy with God. And out of this right relationship with God, we offer gratitude. We offer thanksgiving. And he says, this is what I want to see from you. I want to see a heart engagement. I want to see communing with me out of a right relationship, not just atoning for all the stuff you're doing willingly that separates you from me. That's not the kind of relationship that I had in mind. What I have in mind is I am your God, you are my people. You are the sheep of my pasture, he would say in various Psalms. I care for you. And if you just have a good relationship with me, if you are communing with me and offering these free will peace offerings to me, these are all denoting this right relationship you have with me, then I will hear you. I'll deliver you. I'll be your salvation and all these things. This is what I want to do on your behalf. And so that's the context of the Psalms. How I applied it to me today is just simply understanding, recognizing my right standing before God, and that I am at peace with God, and that God does hear me when I call. I've had in the last 7 days a few reversals in my experience, and not really due to choices I've made or anything like that, or even things that I could necessarily control, but they were emotionally impacting on me. Experiencing loss a bit, in some ways receiving some, well, I won't go into any of the detail. I'll just say that they were emotionally difficult reversals. And so this morning I woke up a little bit burdened by that. And so when I turned to the scriptures, I was looking for, I was journaling about what I was experiencing, but I also was journaling about God, reveal my heart to me, open my heart up so that I might know truth and walk in that truth and not be overly burdened by some of these circumstances that are emotionally, were weighing on me this morning. And so when I came to this verse, offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving, for me, recognizing my peace with God, my right standing with God, I sat and I we've talked about this before, it's the discipline of practicing gratitude. It's the act where you sit and you simply take time to observe all that is good. and specifically the good things that are a part of your life. And you have to sit and just meditate on and just start making a list in your mind. All the things that are good. And as a believer, we recognize that all good things find their source in God. I think this is the heart of this offering, this peace offering of thanksgiving that God is after. It's recognizing the sense of all the good things that God has allowed me to experience because of his good nature, because of his kindness, because of his generosity. And the great thing about this Thanksgiving sacrifice, it's something that is to be celebrated. The sacrifices of atonement, the burnt offerings, the sin offerings, and so on, that's a sacrifice of repentance and lament and sorrow and grief for sin, whereas the offering of thanksgiving is something you get to celebrate. And wow, this is so great. Look at all of what God has done, and just has prompted me inwardly to begin to express my gratitude, my thanksgiving. And so it was a conscious effort on my part today to shift my focus from those things that were causing me emotional distress. And I still got to deal with some of those things, and I'm not denying that. But there's some actions that I need to take. But in that emotionally low state, it was so helpful for me to spend a good amount of time to simply reflect on the good things in my life, and those good things find their source in God. I am at peace with God. I am at right standing before God, not because of anything I'm doing, but because of what Jesus has done for me. And in accord, I'm living my life in obedience to him. Again, not all. It's hard for me to say those things and not qualify them. Like, of course, I'm sinning and I'm doing things that unintentional sin and pride and ego and all those things. Of course, those things are still a part of my life, but understanding the grace of God and just celebrating the relationship and the communion that I have with God, and practicing gratitude was such a good medicine for me today. And so when we think about circumstances in our life that are outside of our ability to control, when we think about things that kind of weigh on us and are difficult, while we still need to address some of those things, perhaps maybe there are some choices we need to make and actions we need to change, but while we address those things, it's important to acknowledge and practice gratitude. It is so helpful. It helps shift our perspective from this, maybe if you're really emotional about it, the sky is falling, to, you know what, it's going to be okay. God is in control. God is good. Look at all the good that God is doing. And that helps us to have a right perspective as we address some of these more difficult emotional things. So, Lord bless you today. Again, pray for our nation today, this inauguration day, and we will see you again tomorrow morning.